Hello again everyone, and in this tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to make some of the sounds from my last track, Vengeance. That was following a request from one of you about how to make one of the sounds. So I'm now going to show that. This is it here, the track. Due to CPU problems, I do split the project into two usually. This is the intro, all 50 something tracks, and in a moment I'll show you the drop. And yeah, but I'll just play the intro to you first, and then I'll go into the sound which I think you'll want to know about most. So that will be too loud. Okay, let's go with that. Right, so that was the intro, and the sound I'm thinking of showing you is this one here. So I'll just solo this for you, and here we are. And that's just like the build-up I use, and because I'm also going to be showing you a load of the stuff from the drop, I'm not actually going to go into so much detail really. I'll bring up the massive patch to show you here, and this is it, clearly. And there's a pitch automation using macro 1, which you can see here. This is macro 1. And that's just what's doing the pitch. But if I was to turn that off, the other movement would be from the stepper. And that, I just stuck a load of random values on it really. And that has been attached onto this band reject filter. So I'll go through in sort of half the detail I would usually. So I've got crude on 1, down a few octaves, and it's on bend minus plus, which is important. The wavetable position is at the moment on 0, and it's being modulated by performer 7, which is on a nice sort of upward curve, which gives us sort of a side-chained kind of feel to it. And that's just stuck on all three of the things there, on the amp particularly, and on the intensity, and that's what gives it the sort of, I don't know, that's what gives it the rhythm to it. And then over the top of that I've got a 4-mant wave, just a square saw turned into a 4-mant, and that's down 1 octave, and some simple things there also with performer on it. And then lastly I've got this kind of sub bass on it. It's because at this point I cut out the original sub, because I don't have subs in build-ups generally. So I've got this sort of one which goes away with macro 1 as it does the high pass. And now what gives it the main part of this is the sine shaper, which just, if I turn this off, firstly you'll notice it's a lot quieter, and also just so much more attitude on. So make sure you've got a sine shaper on. That's also going with the performer, so it doesn't distort at the beginning of the sound. Then over the top I've got a parabolic shaper, just because those are the two I always use really. But all the cool effects you get in each different run of it is all down to the band reject. So if I turn it off, there's no movement to it at all, but you can just hear it kind of, well, it's just a band rejects actually. So if you really want this sound, you can copy it across from your screen now. Classic tube, dimension expander, equalizer, also with a few of those effects on. Voicing, 1, mono rotate, osc, make sure it's restart via gate, and there's some phase on it too, at -12. both on 1. But yeah, that's as much detail as I'm going to go into. So, last chance to copy across now. Okay, good, right. And I don't think there's any other sounds in the build-up you're really going to be that interested in. Apart from that, maybe I should just run you over how it really looks, just because it lags so much. I mean, it's just a nice opportunity to show you what it's like, having to go through all this. The kick and the snare, the transient shaper on it. But yeah, now I'm going to go quit this project, don't save it, and I'm going to whiz along to the drop, which is this one, when it loads, and then that's where they're all pretty much based off the same concept, really. It's always a crude on bend minus plus, and then some different stuff over the top. But you'll see. Okay, here we are. Right, so this is the intro, bounced down to 1 track. So yeah, I don't need to show you that again. And this is the sound we made earlier. But yeah, this is the drop. I'm going to solo all the bits I'm going to show you, or the interesting bits at least. Right, so those are all the main things in the drop. I haven't done the subbits, it's going to take up more CPU. But this is what it sounds like by themselves. First of all, there's this thing, which isn't... And that I'm not going to show you because there is already a tutorial on the internet about that. I just made a few tweaks to it, and I'll bring it up quickly, but... this guy, I'll put the link in the description if you want to have a look at that. But this guy discovers it completely by accident while doing some other stuff. And so yeah, I just did a few things to it. Yeah, if you want to copy across now, if you're lazy and don't want to find that video, do that. But yeah, that's that one. I'm not going to show you that. I am going to show you a couple of the other ones though. So this is the main growl. And again, that's that crude on minus plus. I've also got a chrome on there and a bend minus plus 2. They're both pitched down, 1 octave for chrome, 2 octaves for the crude. And then there's the deep throat underneath, which if I turn these off, gets us that bit. And then this, that's the crude, and this is the chrome. So altogether that's what gets you the sounds. And then on that I've got the modulation oscillator, which is on the deep throat. And again there's that sine shaper, pretty much powered onto full. And yeah, the Performer 7 is also doing all the work here, but it's mainly just acting as an envelope, like you would with one of these, but these aren't very flexible, so I always use a Performer. Performer 5, that's not actually doing anything, as far as I can see. And then the pitch bend is down to 8, which is also another Performer, and that's just, yeah, I've got a bit of X fade on there. But that's just that falling pitch bend thing. And then lastly, there's the frequency shift, which is the, I think I actually showed you this in the tutorial. It was the high-ranking growl in my tutorial a while ago, so I'm not actually going to really, I think it wasn't exactly the same one, but it's pretty similar. And then it had that frequency shift on it, and that's this thing again. And same sort of concept with this one. It sounds similar, really, but they all do. And that's like in the build-up. It's got the crude on the bend minus plus and the full mount over the top. But this hasn't got any kind of build-up-y thing. It's just a single Performer curve on the band reject. And again, we've got all the sine shaper, birdie blur. So that's pretty much what I showed you in the build-up. Just a few changes. So if you want, copy that across. That's what Performer 7 looks like. EQ, dimension expander, classic tube, parabolic, shaper, sine shaper, phase on 1, position. It is basically the same, I've just noticed. It's just slightly, there's a low pass, but serial and mix 2. Of course, we've got the stutter on, which actually sounds like a bumblebee, I decided. If I turn all these off, I'll show you what I mean by it. It does actually sound like a bumblebee, which sounds like an interesting concept. Hang on, it's lagging quite a lot. Okay, yeah, try this one. But that's like a bumblebee in your ear effect. But again, it's the crude on the bend minus plus, the square saw on the formant, and that sub bass thing again. And then of course the sine shaper, the band reject, the low pass, the EQ. It's just the same thing recycled. But the pitch bend is just going down on this one to get the... Don't forget the pitch bend, that does quite a lot to it. That's the bumblebee. Copy it across now if you're interested. And then over that I've got the chip tune, which is just occasionally... And then I've got this flutter thing, which is a pad with a bit of vibrato. So... And yeah, it's quite a lot of vibrato, except I think I turned the amp... Yeah, I turned the amp down a bit, so it's more like 1.5 tones, really. Semitones, actually. So yeah, it's just a pad. 2 oscillators. I put the pitch bend on that, but not actually using it. And then some really, really basic effects on it. So you could copy this one across. It's not that much of an interesting one. Make sure you've got the 5 voices. Not restart via gate. Make sure you've got the detune. And general classic tube, EQ. But yeah, that's your flutter. And I think I've covered all the main sounds in that, apart from the Vengeance Scream, really. Sub bass, I've got this Zomboy growl. And that's, I know there is a tutorial on this somewhere, but I think it was run by an LFO and I changed it to a envelope. Yeah, it's quite a complicated one where it uses AI, bend minus, scrapyard bend minus, then it's just got a square saw and spectrum. Dollar per phase, sine shaper, parabolic shaper, down pass, band reject, teletube, dimension expander, EQ, 2 voices, some panning, and no restart via gate. It probably sounds better at the restart via gate, but hey. And oh yeah, there is this thing. That came in the second section of the drop. Again, it's pretty much the same thing, it's just I made more of a thing of the frequency shift. Actually, I think it is exactly the same as that main growl, it's just the frequency shifter has been a bit more used. So as you see, the sound design, it's all the same thing, really. And actually, I'm just going to play you the drop with all the drums. So clearly it will sound horrible through your speakers, but you might be able to hear how loud the kick and snare are. And then if I go to the final version, which is somewhere around here, there we are, you'll see how quiet the drums are. So they're nowhere near as loud as on the GarageBand version. So and they've been transient shaped to death, those ones. They're still not loud enough at the final version, but yeah. But that is my track Vengeance dissected for you, metaphorically speaking. I hope I covered all the sounds you wanted to hear, whoever posted that comment. And I hope this shows what can be done in GarageBand, actually, because everyone's saying, oh no, it's for noobs. And yes, I may be a bit of a noob, it's half the stuff I do, but yeah. I think this was a pretty good track, actually. One of the best so far. So yeah, I'm going to take the time again to do a shameless plug of my SoundCloud, as you have to on any YouTube video. So yeah, visit my SoundCloud, here we are. Here is that track, which is a download. If you want to download it, go to my SoundCloud, link in the description. On Facebook, like that, because it's only got 75 likes. Very upsetting, I'm sure. But yeah, see you next time. Goodbye.